All right. So good morning, everyone. Welcome
Good morning.
to week 7 live classes for data analytics. So we've got a question or we got a request to repeat the pivot analysis process. But I'll be adding spices as we go so that it looks different, more complex, or more enjoyable as we move along. If you can hear me, let me see your response. And if you're coming in, if I let you in, quickly just put mute your mic so that we don't have to be working on those process over and over and over and over. Okay. All right. So I'll be sharing the file with you. So let's begin. So in our little chat, we talked about, I was responding to a question from Mr. Nosiki, and I made mention that the ideal thing is to first know what you want to do. If you need to summarize data as far as Microsoft Excel is concerned, what you need to apply is pivot analysis, because you know that pivot analysis, can you see my screen now?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
because you know pivot analysis is excellent for summarizing data. So we have two kinds of pivot analysis, yeah? We have pivot tables, we have pivot charts. So in the summary of your analysis, what is the presentation? That's the second question. What is your presentation? Is your presentation going to be in tables or going to be in charts? So that determines if you will go with the pivot chart or the pivot table. Okay? All right. You can see my screen, yeah?
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay. So we have this data set before us here, and we have our dates column here. We would like to use our dates. We would like to use all of these things this data we have before us for our pivot analysis. So if we want to summarize data, we ask ourselves, what is in a data set that wouldn't make this data set summarizable or easily summarizable? If you do pivot analysis with a greatly formatted date column, you'll find out that it will be easy for you to slice through or filter through. But the range will be based on, you will not have control over the range, right? You won't have control. But if you split this, you definitely will have control with filtering. You can control to say, I want the year, right? I want the month, or I want the day. So if you want to have more controls over your filtering when using dates, you definitely need to separate your dates. Okay, you definitely need to separate the column. So I want to insert 3 columns for day, for year, day, and month. Okay. So while I split this using the delimiter, so go to data, text to column, it's undelimited. We'll say next. We pick the delimiter, separating it, which is /. Okay. We go to next. Then we actually pick which one we want to begin with. I think I would like to begin with this. So I'll highlight this and say, do not import. Highlight this and say, do not import. Then I want to import this here. Okay. So let's start with that should be month, right? Month. So I click on finish, I get it here. So this is month. I can just rename this month. So let's go again. Text column delimited, next. It's already separated as we want it on next. So we don't have to import this again. We are not importing this either. So let's pick a destination. We want here to click finish to have the day. So for the year, let's highlight this date column again. Text column delimited, and so next. We don't want to import the month and the day, but we want to import the year. So we just quickly pick this as a destination and click on finish. So we have the year. So we have this now. Like I said, always ask yourself what is going to make your data unsummarizable, and if you'll not be able to work with it very well. So let's create a basic pivot table. Okay. All right. So Ms. Fatima, yeah? Are you following? Yemisi rather.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. All right. So let's insert a basic pivot table now. So we'll go to the insert tab on our ribbon, all right? And we have on the tables group, we have pivot table. Okay. And if you want to play with the knowledge of pivot, you can go to recommended, click on recommended pivots, and you are going to see the different pivot tables that can be entered. But most certainly, most of the time, you don't see any one in your recommended, okay? You don't see anyone. So, but if you want to just get an idea how you can compare your data or summarize your data in pivot, you can just go to recommended pivot tables here and see. But we don't want to use any here because I would like to actually explain the areas and so on. So let's say cancel. So we want to insert the pivot table directly. So we click on pivot. Then we have the pivot table pop-up that actually gives us space to enter our table or range, and to also choose if we want to enter the pivot table on this sheet or on a new sheet. So definitely we want to enter it on a new sheet, right? So now if you check now, our data set has been wrapped. You can see these dotted lines moving around all of our data set, okay? You can see it's all around. So you know that it's been wrapped properly because it's a range. If it were to be a table, you'll have seen a table here, okay? So now we want to actually insert it on a new worksheet. So we want you to create another worksheet, right? To insert the pivot table. So go ahead and click OK. Okay. So we have successfully inserted our pivot table. However, we have not actually summarized any data, but we have pivot table here, some with no data summarized. So I want to say something about these 4 areas that we have here. In your Microsoft Excel, you might see a different arrangement. You can choose a different way it is arranged here. You can decide to say, I don't want this way, I want it this way. So the arrangement is not a problem, okay? You can have it this way, all right? It's not a problem. So what we need to really understand is what each of these space is meant for. Okay, are we together?
Yes, sir.
All right. So let's begin with the rows. I like to always begin with the rows. The rows here serves as label, right? So you will choose the field from here, right? Which you will like to base your pivot or your summary analysis on. So if you want to base your summary analysis on, let's say, on store, right? We can click on store, store goes to row. You see, we are basing our pivot analysis on store. Okay, so that basically serves as the label to your analysis because you are basing it on store. You can actually base it on something else. If you want to remove the field, you click on the arrow and go to remove field, okay? If you want to base it on salesperson, you can check salesperson and you have salespersons here. But what is the use of summary analysis when your analysis, your table is not actually summarized? So let's pick, let me say, country. Okay. So it goes to row. If for any reason you check like this and it doesn't go to where it's meant to go, what you need to do is you drag and drop. Okay, drag and drop is allowed. Click, hold, drag and drop. Okay. So let's basically pick item. Okay, we have item here, item in rows, and let's look at the actual price. Let's take actual price to values. So what does value do? The value area. So in the value area is where you actually choose the field you want to calculate. This is the field. These are fields, right? So any field can be selected. Any field that you select to value will be calculated. For instance, check this out. Check this out. If we take salesperson into value, you see that it calculated to this. But if we move salespersons to row, you see that salesperson becomes what? A label. Okay.
Sir, please, can you increase the volume from your end?
My volume is the highest. Hold on, let me
Not the
let me.
volume. I think that is talking on the background. Somebody should mute his mic.
All right. So okay. So like I was saying, I said whatever we put in the row will serve as labels we are basing our pivot analysis on. So, and whatever you put in values will be calculated in respect to the row, right? Watch this. If I take salesperson back to values, it counts salesperson by default. By default, what this does is that it counts words, text value, right? Strings, it counts words. By default, it sums numbers, decimals or whole numbers. By default, that is what it does. Okay? So for columns, we use field. We would like to base our pivot columns on. I would say this, describe this like you are comparing with something. So you want to do a comparison, right? Let's say you had salespersons, right? Let's do this way. Assuming you have salespersons, yeah? And you wanted to know how salespersons performed over time with in respect to different what's it called, products or items, you use them as row. But practically speaking, this wouldn't be a great analysis because you just have sprinkling over and here. So it wouldn't be an an excellent way to present this. But this is what the column is used for, okay? Okay, say if we had just say about 3 salespersons, you will have done more justice to this. Okay, so that's what the column is used for. For the field or filter rather, for the filter is used to filter data on a pivot table. For instance, we have year. You might see this now. All of these is we will say all of this is a cumulative, right, of all that our data presents or represents, right? So to filter through various or different periods, or filter using different filtering options, you take your options to filter. For instance, let me replace salesperson with actual price. Let me make it price. And let me just format it to be in Naira so that we can basically just look at this. Okay. So that we can actually appreciate the look. Okay. Now we have this now. So like I said, this is a cumulative of all our data represents. So, but this cumulative results or summary is sales accrued over a period of time. So what if we wanted to know what was the performance per time or per year? We will take year to filter. So we have year now here, okay? So what we need to do, you can see here that all of the year in our data is represented. And that's why we have what we have here as a summary. So if we want to be able to select specific years, like we see here, we have from 2014 till 2018. If we wanted to select, what we need to do now is to click the drop down on this and check select multiple items. When we check select multiple items, it gives us the leverage to be able to deselect and select the items or the filters that we need. For instance, if I uncheck all, you see that I have no filter picked. So if my intention was to see the performance of 2018, I will check 2018 and click OK. So you see I have the result for 2018. So I've been able to filter using year. You can add multiple filters. So let's say we want to add salespersons as another filter as well. I want to know, when I click the drop down, I see all of the salespersons that are registered. Let's say let's call them affiliate marketers, right? These are all our affiliate marketers. So, but I want to know the performance of individual affiliate marketers or the individual affiliates. I click on drop down like I've done, click on select multiple items and deselect by clicking on all. I want to know Abdul Amos, right? I will just want to know Abdul Amos performance. I'll check Abdul Amos and click on OK. So basically in 2018, Abdul Amos sold air conditioner at this price. Are we following?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
We are following.
Yes, sir.
All
We are
right.
following.
Okay.
But sir, my own is saying refrigerator.
When you did you are following like this and you selected 2000.
Okay, I did 214.
Okay.
I did 214.
All right. Okay. So now you see that the filters can actually allow us to filter through selected data. Now, let me go to 214 and see what Kelechi Peak refrigerator. So Abdul Amos sold refrigerator in 2014, right? So, but, and if you check now, so let's say Abdul Amos have just been a single, okay, in 2015, he performed better, right? In 2015, let's see 2016. Nah. Okay, so basically, this is just what it is. So we have this again. So we can filter. That is the rule of the filter. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So now let us clear this filter and have a let's have the full analysis, and let's see something about changing the way values are calculated. I want to check all and say, okay, so I have all the years represented as well as all the salesperson represented. So our complete summary now. So now I want to change the way these values are calculated. So what I would do is to go to values, because that is what I want to change how it's calculated. By default, like I said, when you put by default, when you put a value in, especially when it's numbers, whether decimals or whole numbers, by default, it sums. So, but what if you never wanted to sum? What if the goal wasn't to sum? So we'll click the drop down on the values we have here and go to value field setting. Okay, the last item here, value field setting. When we go to value field setting, we see our setting pop up. So the custom name here, we can decide to change the custom name if you like, but what our goal here is to look at all of these. These are all the values we can summarize our value field by, okay? It says choose the type of calculation that you want to use to summarize data from the selected fields. So these are all areas, rather functions you can use. So right now it's on sum, but we cannot use counts, right? We cannot use counts because counts wouldn't be a great representation of what we have. For instance, look at this now. When you count, okay, it counts the number of times a particular entry exists. Okay, let's do count and I'll show you, but it's not the ideal thing. So see what happens. So it's not a good reflection of what values will be. So counts are basically used for counting text entries like names. What is it called? Names. We have, for instance, if you can take items here and see. So it counts items. So actually, what this has done when we say count is that it went ahead to count the price. That is the number of times an item was purchased. That is what it did. So let us take the actual price back to what it should be, sum. Okay, we have sum. So when we put the items now, for instance, let's take this to remove this from currency and take it to general. So you see now that when we put the count of the items, because items are text, it counts the number of times the items appear on our data set. For instance, you could see that air conditioner appeared 195 times, 196 times, and so all right, so you can see that dishwasher was sold 174 times. In fact, if I was asked to know a more profitable item, what I would do is to look at the actual price and the count of items. From here, what we can see is that although, look at this, look at dishwasher. Although dishwasher, we sold 174 dishwashers, the value accrued was higher than the blender was sold for 196 blenders. So another thing we could do is to look at the price. If we had a cost of goods, we will have been able to see which good or item was actually more profitable. Okay, so now what we did just now is we have been able to perform multiple calculations on the same field. So what is the same field here? The field here is the what? The item field, isn't it? This field we use is the item field. So this item field has been able to serve more purpose, right? More purpose for the price, for the items. And if we wanted to even add more, we can add countries to values. So you can keep calculating more and more and more. This is occurring because we made this. So you can see, you can keep calculating multiple as far as you can add store, as far as you can go. Okay. You can keep adding and adding and adding as far as you can go. So let's just remove. All right. So now I talked about us calculating, changing what can be calculated. What if we wanted to calculate, or say on actual price, we wanted to calculate something different from sum, something that actually makes sense, not count, because count, like I said, we use count for text. So what if we wanted to calculate something like average or so? So we click the drop down, we go to value field setting, and we can pick average, right? Okay, and we say, okay, so it counts the average. It calculates rather the average of the actual price based on our field, which is the items. So if we wanted to calculate product, okay, product is multiplication, to multiply by. We go to product, right? We said, okay, so now the calculation, the reason it's saying number is because the norm error is because what are we calculating the product by? So that is why it's showing so. Okay. All right. Remember, you can ask questions. If you want to ask questions, you can use in-text, or you can basically on your mic to ask a question. Okay. So now let's look at segmenting or using more than one field while segmenting them. So we have this calculation here, yeah. Let me take store away. We have this here, and let's say we have the amount, but we want to work with more than just one field, right, on the row. Let's say I wanted to add country here. If I add country, what I've done is to segment it. That is, watch this. I have air conditioner, and I have the contribution of the air conditioner sold in various countries. Then that is it. So I have the total sold. This is what was sold, 122,000 naira for 122,423 naira, basically. So, but what contributed to this price was in Argentina, it was sold here. In Australia, it was sold. So this is all segmenting this. I could know the contribution of each country to this air conditioner. Okay. So now it is in the expanded format, right? It's in the expanded format. So if I collapse them, you find out that I have a summary of the my table, But this summary of my table is showing that I can expand it to see segmented rows, like what I have done here. Okay. So let's look at this. Let's go to our pivot table. So if you look at our pivot table now, somehow, what pivot and the summary of the pivot analysis, we have areas of the tables where we have that contributed to the pivot analysis. Let's look at air conditioner, for instance. If I right click on air conditioner, for instance, and I say show details, it will take me to the table where it's talking about air conditioners. And I will show you this for a fact. Look at column G. Are you seeing that everything on column G is air conditioner? Look at the rows. It's starting, we have 1, 2, 5, 6, and down, but a summary of that is, how will I put it now? A segmented table for air conditioner alone. Let's go here now. Please, are we together? Can you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let's go to Blender now. You can. Pardon?
Excuse, the way you segmented the table.
Yes.
Can you? Yeah, I don't understand.
Okay. All right. So let's look at this now. We have a general, we had a general table, right? From which we got our summary from. So, but there's usually a summary, is a summary of our general table hidden somewhere. And how we can access it is to right click on, let's say Blender, for instance. If I want to see details of the calculations for Blender, what I need to do is to right click on the calculation here for Blender and go to show details. Okay. If I click on show details, it shows me the details for Blender. You can see that it is actually correct because everything on the item, which is our field, is on the Blender. So if I was meant to actually copy the details for Blender, I could easily just copy this detail, paste somewhere for Blender, okay? So the easy way to do that is just to double click on this. It's going to take us to the details. That is another way to do that. You can double click to take us there. Okay, so that is for details. Okay, now I want to show us something, right? Like say show values as. Now look at this very well. There are some, I'll tell you for a fact, there's one of student that, you know, data analysis roles are practical roles. So your interviews will not be about, or your tests will not be telling me about all of these things. There are roles that people can actually test your proficiency. It's not based on there was a problem in your business, so how did you solve it? No. It is based on almost see data set, work on it based on this question. So you are going to see some questions like this. You say, how? I have never seen this before. For instance, they tell you create a pivot and a table and calculate the values as percentage of your grand total or percentage of your row total. You begin to say, what does that? How do I even achieve that? It's as easy as this. You insert your pivot table as usual. You come here, you right click, you come to show values as. So this right now is no calculation. There's no calculation here, right? So how do you perform a calculation? A percentage of grand total, if that is what you want. It said displays a value as a percentage of the grand total of the values in the pivot table report. So you begin to go down until you pick the one that you want. Okay, you even have more options. Okay, you click down on this to find more options. Okay, so for instance, if you want to rank, right now we have no rank. If you want to rank it and say which one performed better, if you want to rank from smallest to largest, that is how you rank. If you want to rank from largest to smallest, you rank it. Okay, and where is it based on? Based on item. Yeah, we click OK. This is our result. This is the rank. We've ranked from largest to smallest. So see what happens. Air conditioner ranked first, right? While a washing machine ranked second. So this is how you can actually change your calculations to, if I'm too fast here, please let me know, because it's very important. Most of the interviews you will go as data analyst, they are simple questions, but they are practical questions. And sometimes the questions you will not even know formulas to apply because it doesn't look like what you use formulas for. They are something you just use your initiative to calculate. So if you don't get this, can I get any questions from here? Anybody need to ask a question here? You want me to repeat it slowly? Are you guys still with me?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, here.
Oh, I was
We are
worried.
flowing, sir.
Eh?
We are
We are
flowing.
following,
We are
sir.
flowing.
Okay, okay. I was worried for a second, like, oh, I'm talking to myself.
No, sir.
All right,
No, we are getting it, sir.
so you have a lot of calculations here, depending on what you want to do. Percentage of grand total, it will give you a percentage of this total, right? It basically calculates everything as a percent based on the total. So definitely the total is going to be 100%. So we can actually see the contribution, the percentage contribution to all of, or to the total, sum total. So that is how you can perform more calculations, okay? Okay, so if we go to no calculations, we actually have the sum. If you want to perform a calculations with your pivot analysis, you show value as, you can go more, okay? You can actually go more, okay? All right, so let's go back to no calculation. So what I will advise is that you actually look at these things. Sincerely, I truly don't depend on support for data analysis, because most of the time in the teams you work with, when you work as a data analyst, you usually will work as part of a team. In larger organizations or in remote work environment, you work as part of a team. You will either be cleaning data, or somebody is cleaning and aggregating data for you, or you are either the first person in contact with the data or the last person in contact with the data. So you find that you are not the one doing everything, okay? So you need to actually know this. So I would like that we actually practice this, know what all of this thing means. This is where questions will actually really come up from, okay? So now there is, we'll say summarize values by what? This is what we have shown you earlier, how to summarize, okay? When you go to value settings, this is what you do, okay? So you can also sort. Okay, let me show you this, and where sorting will really make sense here for us. Let's go to show value as and make it, let's rank from largest to smallest, okay? And we are ranking by items, okay? All right, so recall that you can rank by something else. So let's go to rank now. Recall that you can rank from something else in your, what's it called? Something else in your row. We have item and country. So you can pick any, if you have two items, you can decide to say, oh, I want to rank by country, or I want to rank by item. But now it's item we have values for. So item will be the most appropriate. So when you rank, you will want to sort your values based on your rank. So you can do smallest to largest to smallest. What did I pick? You can do sorry. So it's smallest largest to smallest because we are ranking by largest. So you see that we have sorted this out. We have sorted this. It can go from position 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So we have actually sorted this by rank, and it's easy. It's quite easy for us to see. Okay, it's not messed up anymore. Okay, any questions so far?
It's
No,
clear, sir.
no.
All right.
So how did you, sir, sorry, how did you choose from going from item to country to rank them? You picked from item to country. I want to just reverse it back so that I get it again.
Okay, what I did was value. What I did was I wanted to rank, but I have more items to rank by because in my row, what is dependent here, I have country in here as well as dependent. But if you check, it's row that is the main and not country that is the main. For instance, let's do this. Let me close this and do this. Are you seeing the difference now?
Okay, yeah.
The difference now is that now it is country that is the main dependent, not item.
Okay, the other one is independent, yeah.
Do you understand?
Yes, I understand now.
So if I
As
were...
the one coming first in the arrangement is the independence, then the one underneath is the dependent.
Exactly. So if I take item up, back, item is the main, the country is within item, right? You see it, right?
Item, okay. Yes, yes, understand now.
All right. So now let's talk about grouping data. You know, for instance, see, I'll tell you, learning, sometimes, like I said, these classes like this, please ask questions. I will answer your questions. And because when you ask questions, you learn, you allow experience come out. And most of the time, like what I share with you is experience. And I'll tell you, there was this time I did statistical analysis for a whole long time, right? Using SPSS and so on, Stata, SPSS, GraphPath, Prism, and so on. So there was this data, right? I was meant to, it was so large. It was a retrospective data that's data that you collect, that past data of report. So the data was from 2004 to 2010. Or 2013, rather, 2004 to 2013. So the data was keyed in by someone. It was so large. Now we had to group the data. If I tell you, when you don't have experience on something, you are going to sweat it out. Meanwhile, it's just simple thing. It's just a click. Simple thing. We're meant to group data by age, and we're meant to summarize it. So it is easier, I tell you, to group data. For instance, when entering data, if you, when analyzing data with SPSS, for instance, we start with Microsoft Excel by coding Microsoft Excel. When we code Microsoft Excel, we can easily just take it to SPSS and just then work with the variables there. But now, their idea was not there. So they just put the values as it were, not coded. So when you go to, when you take it to SPSS now, you need to say 10 years, 10 to this years is represent 1, 11 to this years represent this, that to that year represent that. It takes a whole lot of time. And when you see the output, it might not come out correctly. So when I discovered that you could actually group data, it was like a eureka moment. You can actually group data. You can group with age if it's age. You can group with date if it's date. For instance, let's see this. Let's do this. Yeah.
Sir, please, that sum of actual price you did, I'm trying to replicate it on my own end, the 1 to 12.
Yeah.
I'm finding it difficult to do that, sir.
Okay, but you have ranked it already.
Okay.
Have you
I think
ranked
I
it?
missed that part.
Okay. Rank it. When you rank it, then you sort it. Okay. You will rank. We use rank largest to smallest. Then we sorted it to largest to smallest. Okay, are you there? Can we move on?
Yes, I am. I've gotten it. Thank you, sir.
All right, well done. Okay, so let's actually do something now. Let's do something like this. I want to enter a new pivot. So let me just say insert a new pivot, and my table should be in sheet 1, my data rather in sheet 1. So I have my pivot. So now I want to pick the year rather. Let me pick year because I would like to group year to row as a dependent. Okay, so we just have a short. I think we can do this because this is very short already. But when you are working with a long range, right, that you have maybe 5 years interval, you say 2014 to that. So you have 5 years interval. I'll just use this to represent, say you have a long year where you have to, for instance, if we are working with e-commerce data and they say they want to do the analysis at 5 years interval, you can do it this way. For instance, let's put let's take actual price to values. Okay, we have it like this actual price. So I can click on the label, basically the row. You can see when I right click, I have group. Okay, let me do it again. When I don't right click here. If I right click here, I'm looking at calculations. If I right click on the labels, I'm looking at factors that control the labels, right? Get the difference. So when I do that, I'll click on group. When I click on group, it says starting at 2014, right? And ending. That's what we have. But if you say you want to group by 2, okay? If you say you want to group by 2, what you do is like you say, okay, you are grouping by 2 years, 2014 to this, 2016 to 2018. I don't know if you got that. Hello, did you get
Yes,
pardon?
yes, we got it, sir.
Okay, so
We
you
did
see,
it, oh.
Please say it again, no, please. Thank you.
Now recap.
okay,
I'm
recap.
trying
All
to
right,
even
okay,
import the table self.
all right. So let me recap. In a physical class, there was a time I walk up to class. So somebody say recap. I remove the cap and wore it back.
That's not what we mean, sir. Please,
All right. So
go,
this is what.
go back again.
Oh yeah, I
Sir, please, if you
understand.
can start with the importing of the new pivot table, please.
Pardon, you
Yes,
say?
sir. Please, I don't understand that one.
From the pivot
Importing
table,
the new
inserting.
table. How you make the new table? I don't know how you created this old one into this new one into this old one.
Okay.
I don't know.
All right. Let me go back there. All right. So there is the way we create pivot table from our data set. For instance, if I wanted to create a pivot table here, I'll just click within my data set and I go to insert and say pivot table. But that is not how I created the second pivot table, right? The second pivot table, I was in a new sheet already. here. So all I needed to do was to go to where I want to insert the pivot table. I want to insert it in A21, right? So now I still go to insert on this new sheet. I still go to insert on this new sheet. I go to pivot table.
Sir, sorry, this is the old sheet. This is the old working suite you used for the
Yes.
previous one.
Yes.
You're calling it the new sheet. It's just maybe looking at a new space, not a new page, so that you don't confuse.
All right.
This is the
So,
old one. You just want to start it in a new row or a column too. As
all
well.
right. Let me
So that I'll get
rephrase.
it.
Let me rephrase what I mean. What I mean is that I want to create it in an existing sheet. Okay. For instance, if I'm here, I want to insert a new pivot table. I'll be inserting this new pivot table in a new sheet, right? That had no pivot table before. But if I'm
Yes, sir,
working,
exactly.
right? You get that, right?
Yes, sir.
But if I'm
So
working, this will be an existing sheet, right?
Yes, sir.
So I want to insert
Yes.
a pivot table in an existing sheet, but in a new row, okay?
Yes, sir.
So I go to the row, then I go to insert and click on pivot table. So see what it's saying here, right? In an existing worksheet. Automatically, it knows I want to put this in a worksheet that is existing, right? So
Okay.
unlike before that it will pick the table or range, this time I have to pick the table or range by myself because I have to refer to where I want the summary, or where I want the data summarized from. So the data is in sheet 1, right? It follows me here. So because it's a range, it definitely needs to pick the address of the sheet first. So I click somewhere within the table, within the data, and I say Control A. When I say Control A, it automatically wraps the entirety of the data, my data set. Okay. So what I just need to do now is to click OK. So I have the data.
I've gotten it. I was doing it without clicking into the table. So it was telling me source, not specified, something like that.
Okay, yeah, the source it was not specified. Okay. So now we're talking about grouping data. Grouping data, you easily group data from the standpoint of analysis. You easily group data like age, like something you need to do with range, dates. You easily can group dates as range, right? So let me use, I'll use 2 scenarios now. The year, right? Let's use actual price. Then I'll enter another pivot table. So we will use day or month so that we'll see the difference, right? So now this looks like a summary enough, but for the sake of lessons, you know that when you are summarizing large data that maybe from previous or maybe 20, 30, 50 years, you find out that it would be good for you to group your year to maybe 5 years, 2 years, 3 years, as the case may be, or as it is requested. So to group data, we need to group by something. So when we actually can only group by our label. So to do that, we will right click on anyone. No one specifically, anyone. Then we'll now go to group, right? We'll click on group. When we click on group, we actually see that it is important that we let this be that it's starting at this data, they begin in 2014 here and ending at the end 2018. So we need to let that be. So this one now tells the data that, oh, yes, from 2014 to 2018, I want to group my year by 2 years or by 3 years, as you like. You say by 2 years, then click OK. So it's going to group it in 2 years, okay, based on what you have available. Let's insert another pivot table. Let's use month so that it looks better. Okay. So let's take months to rows. Now, months.
Sorry, sir.
Yeah.
Sorry, sir.
Yeah.
Anytime I try importing the table,
Mm.
and I click into any cell in that sheet I'm trying to import, it keeps on telling me and the command requires at least 2 rows of source data.
Yeah, what happens is that when you click inside, you say Control A so that it copies, it takes the entire range. All right.
Okay.
And when you click, don't double click. If you double click, you will not be able to say Control A. It will, if you double click, it's going to pick, it's going to highlight the content of that cell alone.
Okay, it's done. Thank you.
All right. So we will then look at this now. I think Dave.
Please, sir.
Yeah.
Sir.
Yes.
Please, sir. How did you do these row labels?
Okay,
row labels in
the row label.
column B. Yeah.
The row label is just which one exactly? This one?
The one on column D.
Okay, the one on column D. Okay.
Yeah.
It's just to pick your field item into the row area, okay? Like this. Sorry. These things make mistakes sometimes. So I usually like to just drag and drop, okay? Click, hold, and drag and drop. Yep.
Okay, sir.
Have you done it?
Yes, sir.
All right. So I'm using day because it's long. So we get the feel of why grouping is an excellent choice. So if we group this now, we are going to group in the range, calculate the sum of the price for that range. Let's look at the price that we have now. And when we group our data by the number of days, we will find out that yes, it also groups by that calculation. So let's do this now. Let's go to group. So like I said, starting at 1 to 31. So if we group by 10 as we have it here, it's going to be like this. I saying 1 to 10, 11 to 20, 21 to 30, right? Do we follow?
Yes, we're following,
sir, we're following.
All right. Okay, so you see that let's group by something else, by maybe 5. And so 1 to 5, 6 to 10. So this makes it clearer, I believe. It makes it clearer, I believe. All right. So I'm trying to remember the originator of the question. Is it the MEC?
Yes, sir.
Are you still here?
Yes, sir.
Are you getting it?
Yes, sir.
All right. So we have actually drilled down all of the rest. What we have covered, what you've covered this week with a little flair. We have covered it with a little flair. So do we have questions?
Yes, sir. There's one extra question on the sheet there.
Okay, let me check. Okay, how do I auto adjust shapes while inserting the shape manually? If I understand what you mean, is how do you auto adjust? You're talking of inserting shapes. Yeah, let's see, insert. Let me see if that's what you mean. Are you talking about something like this?
Yes, I'm the one that asked the question that how to adjust it to fit the particular shape that was there before. On that map, there was a way you did it during the self-learning section that you just adjust the shape to fit that map. You know, that map will manually import the shape.
Okay, I can't really hear you. Can you be more audible, please?
Okay, sir. Can you hear me now, sir?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I said while importing the shape for that map, when we were when we want to edit our map,
Yes.
so that we have to have a unique dashboard.
Yes.
So that shape for that map, we draw the shape. While drawing the shape, we also adjust it to fit that particular shape that was there, but I didn't get it.
Okay, okay. So let's say, let me do something. I think let me do something similar. Let me do something and see where's our data. So let me use country as a case. So let's do that and see. So I can start by highlighting all, insert a pivot table, and so there are various ways. So we have country in our row, then let's have actual price in values. So remember, I've already taught you the best way to copy this to be dynamic, right? We talked about it last week, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. But anyway, let's still country and price. So we do equal to let me just copy this directly. Okay. Then we'll do equal to get pivot, and let's change this to this and what field it. Let's make it currency. So now I can make this, insert a chart here as a map. Okay. Okay. Insert maps. Okay. Okay. So it's working. It's coming up. So yeah. So ordinarily, please, sorry, I'll pause the recording. So let me read. Okay. So let's
Sir,
continue
please,
now.
the formula you use for this calculation that you wrote get pivot, I'm kind of lost.
Okay, you were not in last class.
No, okay, I wasn't able to meet up with the last class.
Okay, so let me just repeat it. Let me repeat this now. Okay, so when we want to copy data from a pivot, right, from a pivot table, what it does is that it uses a default copying formula called get pivot data. So if you just say equal, we can say get right. You see it get pivot data, and it said it extracts data stored in a pivot table. It says it extracts data stored in a pivot table, right? This is what this function does.
Okay.
Yes. So this is the syntax. Data field, pivot table, field one, field item, field one, item one, and so on. So, but there's the easy way out. The easy way out is just to say equal and go and click on where you want to copy, because we say the get pivot data copies what data stored in a pivot table, isn't it? So that is what it does. So if I want to copy data from a pivot table and the data to maintain the quality and the dynamic nature of the pivot table, I actually use the get pivot data. So if I say equal, I come and click on the data that is stored in the pivot table that I want to copy. It just comes out with the formula. So what I need to do now to just make things different is that I want to autofill. So to autofill, I'll remove the dependent, which is this, right? The criteria here now, which is Argentina. This data was copied from Argentina, right? So I've removed that dependent. I want to say, oh, I want it to depend on this list and not on this list, right? Basically, this list is the same with this list, but this list is not on the pivot table. So if I say enter, it copies the same thing. So I can easily autofill now, right? And if I come to this formula, I have E5, which is Australia. So it's the same value that I have with Australia here. You can see, right? Hello, are you
Yeah, I
following?
can see clearly, sir.
Okay.
Yes, I'm following, sir.
Okay. So let's go on now and continue what we're doing. Let's just make this a quick currency and highlight this for our chart. Go to insert, we go to maps, and we go to field maps. So we have taken this map now. One thing with actually working on dashboards is that you might want to design your charts in a certain way. But there's one thing about maps. Maps don't have, you can't actually work on the corners or the sides of map, right? Of a map. So usually we'll just say no line, no line, no field to be able to give it a unique background. For instance, look at this now. If I right click and say format chart area, and I go to border, you see that I don't have what you basically have, like the rounded corners. I can't achieve that here. But I can say no line on the border. On the field, I can say no field, right? So we basically have the background or the white background. Let me remove, let's go to view and remove these grid lines. So we basically have the white background of the application, but probably we want to add some little kind of designs to our dashboard, our charts. What I'll need to do is to insert a shape, right? I can easily just insert this shape with rounded corners because I want to use rounded corners. So I can do this. So now, because these corners will be too rounded, I can adjust it using this yellow, will I call it lever? I can adjust it to match what I want it to be. Then I send this to back, okay? Good, click on it, go to shape format, and then say send backward, okay? I can now decide to be very careful because sometimes when you click on what is on top, it might just be that you are clicking the chart or the map. So make sure that you are actually highlighting the box. So you can definitely change the color on shape fill. As you like. Then you can remove the outline, no outline, then give it a little bit of shadow like this. So this kind of, you can't achieve this like this with the map, right? But you can definitely achieve it with most of the charts. But anyone you can just ensure that there is a way you can achieve this. All right, is this good?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So any question, any more?
So just that you need to be online when inserting this map.
Yes, exactly. You need to. If not, it will not pop, it will not read.
And because mine is telling me there was a problem getting information for your map chart.
Yes. You know,
I should try connecting to the internet.
yes, once you're connected to the internet to pick this, because it has to pick this with a map, and this map is provided by Binge, right? So you have to be connected to the internet. So if you cannot insert maps on your Microsoft Excel, know that you are using an older map, an older version, a lower version of Microsoft Excel, and you can always use Microsoft Web 365. Okay. So because this
Sir,
thing, yeah.
So I'm using Microsoft Excel 2016, but I'm having problem with some features.
Okay, features like
Some features like this map is not popping up. The map is not popping up.
On the map, you have 3D instead of this map, right?
Yes. I have 3D.
Yeah. So from 2019, you can have maps, but you can use maps on 365, okay?
Okay, sir.
Yes. You can use maps on 365. So probably as we extend in the classes and next coming classes, I'll be showing us how to use maps in Power BI. It's quite different. Here, you just pick countries, Argentina, Australia, and you go ahead with maps. It's not like that. You can't achieve that like that in Power BI. You need coordinates. You need to fill out some things to give you your appropriate map. Okay? So any more question? Mr. Nosike?
Sir,
So
there's no more questions, sir.
no more questions. So in the absence of
Yes,
any
sir.
question, we can call it a day. Okay?
Yes, sir.
All right.